Okay, good morning. Erica, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. So we've got Erica joining us remotely, and I think Patricia is also going to be joining us remotely at some point this morning. Good morning, everyone. We have a small but mighty crowd here today. Okay, I'm going to call us to order at 8:33. We have quorum, and jumping right into old business. Tipsy Mermaid, thank you for joining us today. We've got all your information in front of us. Would you like to say anything?
Good morning. I'm Dave Roush, Office at 170 South Main Street, and with me here today is Sherry Jenkins, who will be the operator of Tipsy Mermaid, and as you all know, owner and operator of Mel Grant's and Salty Cowboy, and Greg Merrill, the owner of the building, and Mark, and I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. I'm saying Hagen, Mark Hagen, who now all been introduced to, who is will be Sherry's manager of the facility. So thank you for the opportunity to present again to you today. I'll keep this brief. We were obviously in front of you a month ago to acclimate and orient you to the project, and I won't go through all of the details, at least in except for what questions you might have about them, but I would hit the high points. As we're here today, I think the most significant thing to say is that the project continues on a steady course. We are very excited collectively about where the project could go, and that the overall layout, 78 inside seats, 92 total, 10 parking spaces, new infrastructure, and all of that continues to advance nicely. And we've also just recently made a filing for development plan approval. So the wheels are all in motion, and we're really moving smartly toward hopefully a summer construction start. Since we last met, we've been reviewing further details, and the one thing that was in limbo when we talked in March was kind of how we were going to deal with some fire protection issues in the building. And as we've evaluated further details and talked with our code consultants and so forth, and given the nature of the facility, we're inclined to proceed with fully sprinkling the building, which is a really significant life safety aspect. If we were building this building new, which we're not, you would do that almost without even second thought. But in a renovation of a wood building with a basement and attics and so forth, it's a good bit more onerous. So, and adds to, sort of the complexity and then therefore the cost of the construction of the project. So the reason we're in front of you here today is largely to solicit support and assistance from the town to help with some what we would consider disproportional infrastructure issues with the project of this size and type. We do see it as a long-term play for Main Street, a very vibrant business use, and certainly converting a property to a safe and useful life for the long haul, and continuing to keep the character of Main Street, both in terms of architectural style, but also in terms of scale and so forth. And that's not lost on us with a couple of buildings adjacent to us that have just been, removed in the very recent past. Because of a number of factors that I spoke about a month ago, partially is a very aggressive construction inflation market. Part of it is the size of our project and the fact that we're dealing with a nuanced historic building, and also some pre-existing conditions with that building related to structure and infrastructure. We're here today to solicit some support and assistance from the town to help make this project financially viable. Our request is also founded on the fact that we have a very robust food and beverage operator here that will in fact return significant funds back to the town through the food and beverage tax revenue over the lifespan and we've at this point counted it as a 10-year lease. Similarly, there will be a substantial increase in the assessed value of the property, which also will ultimately return funds back to the town. So as far as a investment that the town might make, it's clear mathematically to see that there's a very significant upside to the town and the taxpayers as a function of its support for the project. Lastly, and not to be diminished, is there's also an increase in about 40 staff that will be employed as a part of this venture. And I don't know the net numbers, but all of those are a very significant increase to the previous restaurant that occurred that worked in the space, several years ago. So we're here today to make a request of assistance that is founded principally on three factors. One is the sanitary sewer system, which includes additional building discharge, grease traps, and related appurtenances that make for a safe discharge of food waste that the property currently doesn't have. Secondly, we have a redevelopment of the parking area in the back, and we're removing the patio to the south side, as you well know. And as a function of all that, we will be repurposing the stormwater discharge and runoff in that portion of the site that currently connects up with the alley. In fact, we even heard yesterday at the TAC meeting that there's some question about some adjacent property discharge onto our site, and that would all be addressed as well as part of this work. And then lastly, as I mentioned to start, we will have a fully sprinklered building, not only for our kitchen hood, which would be required statutorily, but electively to come in and bring new water service and fire sprinkler to the building, including all of the combustible cavities that are in the building, which is often a source of origin of fires and so forth. So that cost also is been factored in, and the sum of all of those comes to a request of $125,000. The entire project cost right now is foreseen to be somewhere in the range of $1.25 million. There are also some peripheral costs that are not in that number, such as some food service equipment and so forth. So the project is actually, somewhat more significant than that, which is what really brings us here today. So I'm going to stay on the high side here. I'm not going back into the project details unless, of course, you would like to talk through planning and so forth. But at this point, I would just open it up for questions for me or for Greg, the building owner, or Sherry, the operator. So,
Thank you, Dave.
thank you.
Quick clarification point. You mentioned a 10-year lease. Were
Yes.
you speaking metaphorically about the payback period of food and beverage tax, or is that the lease terms?
Probably both. I'm not privy to the lease, but all of our conversations have been in discussion of a 10-year lease, and getting a head nod there. So it is a 10-year lease, and the numbers that we are projecting based on the business plan for this property, and somewhat validated by the other two properties that are adjacent, suggest that over that 10-year period, I'm looking for the numbers, the sum of both that as well as the increase in assessed value are somewhere between 2 and 3 to 1 as it relates to the ask. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
and including a lag. We understand there's also a lag in the collection of revenues. So we have not counted the first year because of the 23, I guess, because of the lag in actually the tax revenue collection.
Yeah, that's
So,
great.
mhm.
Thank you. Questions? Erica, do you have any?
Well, I guess my first question is, because I missed March, why did we push it on? Were we waiting on some additional information or?
So March was not an official ask or filing. They just
Okay.
came to bring us up to speed and intro the project before the anticipated ask of this month.
Oh, okay. Okay, good deal. All right. What is the planned opening date?
I'll say this without joking. So it's like, I would say February of 21. No, I'm kidding. So this has been a journey over about a year. Again, a combination of or convergence of a number of factors. So the fact that we're still here today, I think, is a real testament not only to the integrity of the project, but also the commitment of the owner and operator here. So that's the preamble. At this stage, if all of the sort of milestones that we're looking at hitting over the next 45 days, let's say, including development plan and final permitting and so forth, our hope is to be under construction before July 1st and be done in 22. Done in calendar year 22. From a construction standpoint, we don't see any issue with being able to get that done. We do see, however, some very significant supply chain, my least favorite word, supply chain issues that we'll be evaluating to make sure there isn't something out there that would keep us, from opening because of one or two little items. But right now, the pro forma suggests that we would be under construction before the third quarter of this year and be done by the end of the year.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
I've looked everything over. I don't really have too many questions. When I saw the you're sprinkling a historic building, I know how much fire protection costs, and I was like, oh. So I know that this is a portion of what you really need to make this happen. So thank you for sharing it, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, the breakdown was really helpful, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Is there any significant change or update? Because I think I reviewed all of this, or did you have any questions or Tammy?
Nope, I don't have any questions.
Apart from anything you've highlighted, is there anything to call our attention to that's a change from what you've already mentioned in this document?
No, there's no change per se. That's correct. No. Mhm.
Okay. I will say that I am in favor of awarding the full ask of 125,000 on the grounds of, I think the payback, there's several areas and lenses through which this is successful. The payback period, the math just works out. I mean, this is a wise investment, agnostic of if we care at all about what it is happening. It's a wise investment from both AV and food and beverage, as well as it's good for the town of Zionsville. I mean, our mission is to help with the betterment of Zionsville. So keeping the historic nature and doing all of the hard work to sprinkler and figure out how to fit a new use into an older design is, again, a labor of love. And it's what makes Zionsville really special that people are willing to do that. And I think this just adds to, the number of the assessed value, but also the kind of spirit of the assessed value of Main Street. The more that we can keep and help cross those bridges of what makes people tear down buildings. I think that is a great story and a way to invest our money as a town.
I agree. No, I guess I just would say thank you, because this is a project that I think will be great for the town, for the Zionsville downtown, the other businesses. I mean, Sherry's got a wonderful reputation, and I think she's a proven, obviously, businesswoman that, is just wonderful for something like this, and for Greg for being, seeing the future value and what this might bring to his property too. And I think it will be wonderful. So
It's a great project.
Yeah. Thank you for approaching us and allowing us to be part of this. So I will make a motion unless there's any other comments beforehand.
Okay.
I'm gonna recuse. I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
I'll second that emotion. Whatever.
The emotion of the motion, yeah.
Yeah, the emotion of the motion.
I'm gonna clarify. I'm gonna make a motion to approve Tipsy Mermaid at 135 South Main Street, owned by Greg Merrill, at the request assistance of $125,000 from the Zionsville Community Development Corporation. Would you like to second?
I would. I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It passes.
Great.
And thank you for your attention.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you very much. We really appreciate the, the support and the participation with the town, and feel like the community will be rewarded by that
Yep.
in multiples over. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
It's great. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Other business, you feel free to, you can walk away or you can stay and watch
You
us
can
wrap
stay.
up the meeting. It's up to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any new business that we're aware of on the horizon? And we have nothing in our agenda at this moment. Was that accurate?
And I would just offer that we have a fire drill at 9 a.m. So
Oh,
that's going to just include our business.
That's
for today.
helpful.
So we participated. Like I said,
wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for that, Wayne.
I just have a quick question on, so we didn't really discuss the payment. I know in future
Correct.
projects, we were
Yeah.
talking about milestones during the construction that they would actually receive the
Thank you.
money, and I don't know if we want to.
Yeah, so our, we had awarded some portion of it. I don't know if this, I can't recall if it was 50% upon something and then 50% upon certificate of occupancy. Is that the breakdown that we have done in the past?
Yes, it's been tied to milestones such
Yeah.
as completion of a rough inspection,
Yeah.
first milestone, for example. First disbursement.
Could I have a request that staff finds what our most recent one is and we can kind of approve that via email or what's the right way to do this? We need to remake the motion.
At a minimum, we would look at not Hotel Tango, that was probably the most recent one prior to that. Because yes, the RDC will be looking for that structure and they might end up articulating that for you.
Yeah.
We can discuss it in the email.
Okay. That works. So I think Hotel Tango's was, thanks for bringing this up, was pretty successful, if I remember. So we did occupancy and then some other
Yeah.
milestone.
I thought maybe they did like pre-strap. I forget.
Correct, it was, they had a 3-step payout.
3-step.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I think I'm comfortable with looking at that as an example if we feel like that was successful and not too cumbersome, I guess. Is 2-step more appropriate? Or do we feel better about the 3-step payout?
Slice and dice it.
Yeah, it's generally been 2 steps.
Okay.
That's generally-
I would be in favor whenever possible, keeping things simpler. So I think a 2-step would be appropriate if we can find that
Right.
precedent with Hotel Tango and kind of add that thought via email. Okay, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, forgot about that. Any other new business on the horizon that this team should be anticipating?
There's a lot of new business on the horizon, certainly to get the treasurer up to speed with the accounts and
Yeah.
taxation
Hi.
for the last year. We did get things wrapped up for taxes 2 years ago. So we're done with that now. Certainly we were restoring leadership leases can change. And we do have a few checks to have signed today.
Okay.
Before 9 o'clock. And related to maintenance of creeksides, lawns and taxes.
Okay.
I'm having a little trouble hearing Wayne.
I am too.
Got to do the long walk to the microphone.
I'm
Yes, so very
sorry,
brief-
Wayne.
No, you're fine. So fair. I was hoping
Owen's microphone could pick me up. Clearly it didn't work. So, yeah, very briefly, we have a couple checks to wrap up for issuance for this month for tax preparation of $150, as well as the one of 10 payments to the Brightview folks for maintenance of the lawn at Creekside, and then certainly working with the treasurer here to move the paperwork through her for these items going forward, and some other housekeeping items for 2022. And yes, there's a lot of business on the horizon we'll be discussing over the next 60 days.
Perfect.
Are we adding to the board?
That's also in the works. It is something that's on the RDC's agenda. There are 2 additional resumes on top of the collection that we have already as a town. I believe the RDC has assigned a committee to review. 2 members.
Came early.
I would move that we adjourn.
Adjourned.
I second that.
Thanks, Erica.
Bye.
Bye, Erica.